And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Sohail, where we have a casual
Woo!
and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, episode 2 or 3, depending on where you're watching it. Uh, past prologue, which isn't there a Discovery
A
episode
time
called "What Is"
travel?
or
Oh yeah,
like
what is
"What
past
Is
is
Past" is
prologue?
prologue? They like just
Yeah.
extended it. They were like, let's just
There's a lot
the
of past, future, tense, this, that,
things like that.
you can
Yeah.
just lump them all together.
It's true.
Yesterday's past prologue of tomorrow.
Well, today we're recorded. I'm so sorry we can't be live, but I am at this very
Shh, don't
moment.
tell them that.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
Your
But
chat
I'm
is old and funny.
It's true. It's true. I'll just pretend to interact with people. Oh, yeah, that's a really interesting comment.
Joel in the audience said.
Joel
I'll
in
be
the audience
there.
said exactly. That's true.
I did that this morning.
You
Or
did, and this afternoon.
Yesterday. I mean,
Oh yeah, yesterday. Yeah, because of today.
today is
Which, by the way,
Saturday.
May the 4th be with you, to you other Star franchise folks out there. But I'm pleased to be joined with, and it's been a long time. Thanks for joining us, Robbie from Movie Magic. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
Good. Glad to be on here before I go to work tomorrow.
Excellent.
No, it's a really good way to end the week. Because I'll feel like I've done something to friends.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Well, yeah, anytime. You're totally always welcome. You know, as the crew says to Picard, you're always welcome, Captain. And Aaron's back. That's so cool with his Enterprise from the animated series that he found and restored.
It was in pretty good condition. It was a little flat on the paint.
Just needed a couple of touch-ups. And we got Joel back. So nice to
Yes,
see you,
indeed.
Joel.
How's
Quickly
that?
becoming one of the most prolific podcast guests ever. Like, it's pretty awesome. I love it. Do any of you guys feel like doing the episode summary for this one? I've got one written actually, so I can actually do mine if you guys don't
How
feel
many
like
pages is
Yeah,
it?
go for it.
No, mine is it's short. I purposely wrote it so that it would be like a
Then you
minute.
go
or
ahead.
less. Okay, all right. Whoa, sorry. I scared my cat. Okay.
Uh-oh.
In the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Past Prologue, Bajoran terrorist Tana Lo seeks asylum on Deep Space Nine, escaping from the Cardasians. Major Kira, an old acquaintance from her resistance days, supports him, creating tension with Commander Sisko due to her divided loyalties. Meanwhile, the notorious Klingon sisters, Lursa, and Beator, arrive plotting with Tana to acquire a powerful explosive. Tana's plan to destroy the wormhole and sever Bajor's ties with the Federation is revealed, leading to a moral and tactical crisis for Kira. In a decisive moment, Kira thwarts Tana's plan by detonating the device safely in the Gamma Quadrant, solidifying her loyalty to the Federation and Deep Space Nine.
That's faster than
Look at that.
fathery. Congratulations.
I think I stole part of it from Wikipedia, so it is a little bit of a plagiarism, but whatever. It's got some words of mine in there. But yeah, I think that's one of the fastest summaries I've ever done. I'm going to try, if I can, to write them down in advance, because if I don't, then I'll just wax.
Yeah. It can be hard. It can go either way.
Ooh, Aaron, can we see your shirt?
Yeah, I switched out for.
Super awesome.
I'm wearing that to a Star Wars event actually that I'm at right now. I think when this is playing.
That's awesome.
I live around the corner from where ILM used to be in the 70s. So there's this big warehouse that's now a architecture firm, and they do a tour of the facility, and then later in the evening they are screening Star Wars in the parking lot where they actually shot the trench run.
From the
And
pickup?
it's
Yeah.
Yep. And it's a despecialized version, so we have the ones that you would have seen in 1977 when it came out, officially
That's pretty
licensed,
cool.
I guess. Yeah,
I'm surprised they ever let that out. I guess because George.
I think it's just because of this specific thing. Because if they talk about the special effects and then they don't show the special effects, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, not it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll continue and give my opening thoughts. I've only seen this episode other than when it originally aired and then on DVD, and then like 20 years later I've only seen this episode drunk, and I have to say it's really great to watch these episodes because it was for a reason, but it's really great to watch these episodes now in this context with these rewatches and these discussions, because I just noticed so many things that I didn't notice before. And oddly, I think DS9 is going to just, we speculated about this last time, but I think DS9 is just going to prove to be so much more relevant even today. Like it just feels like all the little things are things that are it predicted, or it, like, I don't know, not predicted intentionally, hopefully, but yeah, like the warnings have come true, unfortunately. And so now we're living in these kind of times,
even
that
just
parallel,
the vibes kind of.
yeah, the vibes, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I was very, like, the Garrick introduction just like holds up. It's just one of the best introductions of a character ever, and just his involvement in the whole episode and everything. Like, you really, I loved him. I loved Garrick, and I'm excited to get to know him again. And then just the whole, kind of continuing the introducing these other last, in Emissary, we kind of meet the Bajorans, but on the more kind of spiritual side. And now we're meeting the resistance fighters, or the, people who still don't believe that, there's a, these kind of more xenophobic Bajorans, like what were they called? The Khon Ma, and their philosophy. So we're being introduced to that and stuff like that. And then who's the actor who played the Gull in this? He's super famous. He was in Enterprise. He was the Admiral Forrest, right? Like,
Is that him?
It's the same.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it's the same actor. I'm pretty sure it's him. Do you remember his name, Robbie?
No, I know he played a Klingon in
Vance Armstrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. It's like, give me a second and I can find it.
Yeah, I noted that. I forgot to write it down, but
What was it? Jalad, I think, was this one's, right? Gull something. But yeah, I'm almost 100%
Gul
sure.
Jalad at Tanagra. No.
Gul Jalad at Tanagra. But yeah, I liked everything, the interplay of this episode. I have a few critiques, but we'll get into it in the deep dive. But why don't you go next, Robbie, and then Aaron, and then Joel? You can finish this with your open thoughts.
I thought this was a pretty standard episode. I'd remembered the Garrick scenes because they're pretty iconic, but I feel like Kira's my favorite character. I love the way that she grows over the show, but I feel like this is a pretty standard Kira episode. So I think like those like really charismatic Garrick scenes really take over and kind of tease. I'd rather actually have a full-on Garrick episode with Bashir than a kind of standard betrayal story. But I love that even if it's not a great story, it kind of shows that they're still developing the characters. They're still showcasing this kind of history Kira has and making her a really strong character. And even though they're showing all the history of Kira, like this happened in her past, they really earn her going forwards, because she has all these actions and episodes where she becomes friends with Tekeni Gamor, and does stuff like what's the episode? The Progress, where she really grows.
Right on. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yep. I really like it. I also enjoyed the Garrick scenes, just because it's weird, because I didn't think he was introduced so soon. So that explains why people feel like he's always there, I think, because he's made such an impact in the beginning. But like you're saying, it does feel like a standard Deep Space Nine episode, but this is episode 3. So there was no standard Deep Space Nine episode. This is the template for that, basically. Angry Kira, agrees with bad person, realizes that bad person's really bad, and then backs it up, and then like goes with the Federation,
and does the right thing.
He does the right thing, yeah. It just, we get the opening, obviously with Bashir and Garrick, where he's like, Bashir doesn't know how to put his hands. It was just very cute.
Plant in front of him.
Yeah, the plant kept. Yeah, so it was. I enjoyed that, but yeah, it was a standard, but it was, for what it was really good. And I love Lewis and Bajor.
Oh yeah, they're great.
The Klingons, they're always fun whenever they're there.
They're like straight up hissing and stuff. It's awesome. Joel.
Yeah, I'd say that the second half is pretty normal for DS9, even though as of yet that wasn't, of course, there really. But
it's
yeah, I'd
Star
say
Trek.
Yeah, the beginning cold open with Garrick and Bashir, though, is the best cold open in Star Trek. I don't think you can beat anything that's just before the credits that's good and entertaining. And yeah, Siddig he sells the awkwardness like no one's business. I suppose when I first watched this, I didn't know. It's just like, okay, it's just kind of awkward. But you see, where Bashir goes later, it's like it really shows how wonderful that. And I got to say that Garrick is dressed like Mork.
He kind of is.
It took me all episodes. Like, what does that remind? Because there's that meme with the hands, and I've seen it before. But it's like, what does that remind me of? And I looked at it. It's Mork. Yeah, not spacesuit Mork, but like a regular bib overall Mork.
Yeah,
Robbie, I'm curious if you know who Mork is.
From
Mork
is
and
he a
Mindy?
guy that Robin Williams played or something?
Yes, that's it. Yes. I totally
I'm
see
being
the
old
Mork.
talking about Mork. But
I never saw the Mork before. That's so funny. Let me pull up this picture because I didn't realize
it's
that
funny
this
because
meme.
the Mork spacesuit is from Star Trek. I believe.
right. Yeah.
It's
I
Oh
think so.
yeah, it is.
Colonel
It's
Green's
from
uniform, I think.
wait, what's it from?
The one where they find Lincoln, I can't remember the name right now.
Oh yeah, it was the
Colonel Green's.
the bad guy, right? Like the general or whatever. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. That was from that. But here, this is the iconic like Garrick doing this with his hands. I didn't realize that was from this
It's a
episode
very
either.
Robin
So it was
Williams
like-
pose too. I mean, you can just see
it is. It's very true. I can see the Robin Willis. Well, very cool. Let's get right into Garrick. Let's get into Garrick for a second. I'm going to move myself because I don't like to cover my guests. So
There you go.
I sent a
I don't
picture
mind
of
being-
Mork and the image like them together.
Oh, let
Lincoln.
me pull it out. Let's see here.
It's in the private chat.
I got it. I'm gonna put it over here.
It's just weird how they
But-
edited it. It looks like he's right there.
That is it. There it is. Oh, Robin Williams looks so sweet there. I don't know what it is about that picture. He looks
He's
kind
kinda
of sad
sad
and
there.
sweet. Yeah. Oh.
They just added the triangle, and that's about it.
Watching this scene with the over the years, like there's a lot of things that like the gay community does, with shipping and stuff like that. Of course, the most famous one is Spork or Spark. Yes, Spork.
Spurk?
Spock and Kirk. Spurk? It's Spurk, right? It's Spurk.
Or-
I was saying Spork. I don't
Is
know why I
Spock
was
and Mork, I guess.
Yeah, the other one is
Mork,
yeah.
I was
everybody's-
confused.
Well, sure, you can.
But it was delightful to find out that there was actually something to that for Garrick and Bashir, because they were too afraid to write it explicitly, but it kind of appeared in the performances, and it's there from the start. I mean, like the whole kind of it looks like it feels flirtatious, the hands on the shoulders, and like Bashir not knowing what to do. He's kind of flattered, but he's also kind of like a little mystified. And then I just love when he goes to ops and he's like, can you believe what happened to me? And everyone's like,
I wrote
totally
that down
not.
too. It's like,
Yeah,
you won't
like-
believe who sat down next to me in the Replimat. Like, so excited about it. They're like, I don't care.
I
Please
wrote down
leave.
that Julian mistakes his attraction for Garrick for espionage. This feeling must be espionage. Of course. Of course it
That's great. I love it. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. What do you think, Robbie, from your perspective?
I think it's great because, Andrew Robinson said he played the character as gay, and I think in the documentary, and I think that's why they got more sporadic scenes. Maybe the studio, kind of clamped down on that, but it kind of jump starts Bashir's character, who's been kind of mopey, but he's like this excitable character who needs something to bounce off of that isn't Jadzia.
That's a good point.
So, so I
Doesn't
think it
follow
works
somebody
really
to their
well.
quarters.
Yeah. But yeah, totally. I love that Andrew Robinson, the way he performs Garrick, like his movements, his gestures. Oh, hold on, let me imitate them here for a second. Like, he's like kind of quick and like, kind of like reptilian and stuff like that. And I feel like he put something with his performance. I think he like gave the Cardasians a character that none of the other Cardasians kind of like. They all kind of just stand straight and like, or
Dukat
whatever.
is not like that at all.
Yeah, but
Just-
I love this because I feel like that's how a Cardassian should behave. I feel like they should have like that kind of like quicker reflex
But they
thing going
also
on.
might in real, like regular civilian life. We really haven't seen
Right.
very much of that at all. So
Right. And I think with Zial, you kind of see that. You do, I think,
Yeah.
I feel like there's other Cardassians that kind of play off of that as well. Maybe in front of humans, or the military ones are more stoic, if you will, similar to, how we imagine the military. But yeah, that's really cool. But we get, a lot of excitement in episode 2 with the chase scene, beaming Tana. So his first name would actually be Los, right? Because he's Tana Los. That's funny. I always get that confused, but yeah.
I was like, I know that name, and I figured out that it was actually it's Katana Garrett or whatever from the Blink of an Eye episode of Voyager, which I've heard that name many more times than Tana Los. I'm like, why is this pinging like something in my head? But it's Gatana and Tana. So
I thought, what's the actor's name who played Tana Los? He's been in a lot of stuff. I feel like
I
I've seen him on
recognize
soap
him, but
opera.
I didn't write it down.
I will
I've seen him on
keep
Jeffrey-
talking. I'll find it.
Jeffrey Nordling, I think.
Oh,
But look, we confirmed that. I saw a note real quick that I wrote down that hopefully if I'm reading my handwriting correctly. But
yes,
Arthur, check the handwriting.
that's him.
Arthur escaped already.
Oh,
But
Arthur.
what did you guys think of this character, and what did you think of, kind of the implications of what he represented and stuff like that, and how do you feel like the execution went for the character? Whoever wants to start.
I think it worked pretty well. You can tell once you see the whole episode and see where it goes that he's obviously had to spend a lot of time undercover doing these improvisational things, pretending.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the Bajorans did that, but especially I'm sure infiltrated a lot of stuff before blowing it up and etc. And I think that worked pretty well. And what else do I have down about here? I thought, let's see, it's not about him, but yeah. What do you think, Aaron?
I think what works really well for that sort of thing is that if you're an actor, you do act. So he was very convincing as one because that's just how he was playing it. And then when he switched over, he was also convincing as that. So I think that really added to that level of like, oh wow, he's pulling the wool over on everybody's eyes. But you feel it's more like watching Kira react to him. It's just sort of this, I can't believe I let that that happen, and I feel bad that he's like this. I feel bad that this has happened. It's just sort of like it hits her emotionally, it looks like. So they play off of each other really well like that.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think it works better for Kira than Tana Los because he's not a very interesting character.
He's
But
one-dimensional.
yeah, but the way that because Kira is so proud of, we see she's so proud of her kind of Bajoran heritage, and Bajorans being good people, that having that happen to her is a good kind of gut punch. And I think she gets a lot of gut punches throughout the show. But when she's talking to Cisco in this episode, it's a great kind of reminder. She's so headstrong about being Bajoran, and it makes a lot of sense. But she also kind of becomes really a part of the crew and becomes friends with Cardassians and manages to kind of see outside that field of vision. Because I'm sure you get a lot of Bajorans that are just like, they oppressed us, Bajoran supremacy or whatever, but she's not that kind of character.
And I think it's interesting about the desperation the Bajoran people had to have been under, like the sheer level of desperation under Cardassian occupation, because for the Kon Ma and for Tanalos to have emerged, it's like things have had to have been really bad because the tactics that they use are so extreme. Even Kira, I think she mentions, like, if she had been part of the Kon Ma, she wouldn't even be serving, and that even the Bajor, right, and even the Bajor, and even Bajorans wouldn't, like, it's just they're kind of like a group that even Bajorans don't necessarily support, even though during the war they probably were crucial in the Cardassians realizing that Bajorans don't mess around. You know, like it was, you know,
it's kind of like environmental activists and like, no, we're not Greenpeace or something to that effect. You know, like there's that other level up of interaction. And,
yeah, it's a good analogy actually. Yeah, and so it was interesting to see that play and to see. I liked what Kira was saying though. I think, you know, that was an interesting part of the episode, and revolving around Tana, this character, was that she was like, in order for Bajor to heal, we have to repatriate kind of these extremists into society and embrace them and rehabilitate them. And that's very Federation. And I was surprised that, like, well, Cisco was kind of, you know, tacitly behind it, but like I was surprised that there wasn't more of a, you know, you're right, like let's do that.
Well, he's still mad about the call to the Admiral too. So
well, yeah, that's such a great
the line is great too at the end when he confronts her. Like, that was perfect.
Go over my head again, and I'll have yours on a platter, Rage.
Yeah, with a smile, so she knows. Yeah.
I loved also, like, Cisco's like such an interesting character, and you really see his like mental kind of like, you know, for lack of the mentalics, which is like, I think, a Dune term. I'm not sure, but like you just see him like thinking and stuff like that, which is really like, I like how you can see him like sussing things out and like figuring things out. Like when he's talking to Bashir, you know, and Bashir's like, Garrick told me to go buy a suit. And you're like, you know, Cisco's able to read the subtext where Bashir was, you know, like I think, you know, like Bashir's just like, I don't get what's happening. But Cisco's like, you should go see, like figure it out.
You should get a new suit or whatever. Like,
right, exactly. And then just like you know, I love that scene where the Admiral calls and she's like super annoyed and he just like takes it in stride or whatever, but then later on when he you know, he waits till the right opportunity to like really, you know, like it's when Kira comes to him like to say, hey, thanks for supporting me, blah blah, that he's like, okay, you know, so by the way. But
actually related back to Tana Lowe's kind of to that is that the one thing he did do well is like play on her, like, I don't want to be part of the government. I don't want to be part of the Federation. I hate that. You know, he knows enough about her personality to use that to play off of like, well, okay, I guess if you just want to be a politician, then, you know, it's just like, and then she's like, fine. Yeah. I'm not a politician.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be seen that way, even though she's really good at it, you know, like, but yeah, I get it.
And then
again, with the Admiral, you can kind of see that. I mean, it's not, it was totally inappropriate for her to do that, but she was making good points.
And her tenacity and everything. You know, that's interesting. Like, I don't remember what the climate was like back in the 90s when this was airing in terms of politics here in the United States. Robbie, you were not with us yet, so I don't think you can tell us about the politics in the UK. But maybe you can. I don't know if you studied that.
Clinton was president then?
But it didn't feel like Kira's reluctance feels more relevant now, like in the sense that we don't see anyone who would be good at politics wanting to serve in politics just because of the nasty atmosphere surrounding it, with all the, you know, backstabbing and all the like blatant corruption and everything like that. And I mean, I'm sure it was all going on in the 90s, but I feel like from my perspective as a citizen at the time, it was a little more peachy, and like you felt like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind doing my civic duty and being on a council, or, you know, like doing something like that. Whereas today people are just like, I don't want anything to do with it. You know,
well, and at this point, the Gulf War had been over a couple of years too, so it wasn't.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know, as fresh.
It does remind me. I think one of the people who were in the Weatherman Underground, who planted some bombs in government facilities, one of them joined this Chicago City Council. And like every year or so, someone comes to the council meetings and makes this big deal, and everyone there is like, yeah, we know he's fine.
We repatriated him.
I also think this episode's really interesting in how they have some really early character stuff that's different from what it would be later on. Like when Tana lets on that he's going to bomb the wormhole, Kira's very upset for Bajoran's position if they lose it, but she doesn't mention the Prophets.
Yeah, that was weird.
She would, for sure. That would be like the first thing she mentions later on. It was like, how dare you do this to the Celestial Temple? But yeah, that's not mentioned at all on this one.
And I kept thinking that the Prophets are like You said that you weren't violent. Now the second time that you've come through, you're bringing a huge explosive device. Like, what is going on with you people?
It's so crazy. She hasn't met Hadi Vedic Barile yet, so she's not. She's like,
Yeah. Yeah, maybe she's just not quite that religious yet. The fervor isn't quite in control yet.
uh, but I also thought it was interesting that we're again lots of I think world building and like just kind of setting up little things here and there. I like that scene where Miles is like, have you ever you've never fought the Cardassians, have you, Commander? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, just as a my opinion here, but like I wouldn't give my worst enemy over to the Cardassians.
They're tender
they're
mercies.
tender, merciful. Yeah, they're mercies
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. It was like a really good
We
scene.
see the scars on Tana in that first scene in the sick bay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we do. That's right.
It's not called
That's
sick bay
right.
DS9, is it?
It's the infirmary.
Infirmary, yeah. I said that. I'm like, that's TOS, yeah.
So Kira, I got the impression that Kira and Tana at one point maybe did kind of serve together before he went off
I'm
on this
sure
like
they-
kind of
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they had to
Groups
met
helped each other
somehow.
on certain things.
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't.
I don't
cut
remember.
dry.
I don't remember in any Star Trek series previously where you had like a character that had the divided loyalties and a commander having to deal with that. Maybe Ro kind of. Yeah, Ro. Yeah, Ro's
Or
kind of
a little. They talked about it. Then he'd quit, and then he'd come back, and then
Yeah.
that's about as close, probably.
Any other thoughts on Tana Los, guys? That was
Um,
meaty.
I think so.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
think you had a line. Sorry.
No,
I
no,
think
please.
I think you had a line. Wait, let's see in my notes. I want Bajor for Bajorans, and that statement sounded very kind of Cardassian, typically Cardassian.
Yes.
And legit, you become what you hate, right? It's like kind of like that's what he is now. It's true. That's a really good point.
Sort of, but they must be so poor because do they have any ships almost? They later do, but you would think more
They
about
have like all those what is
They
it, those little
need
fighters
stuff.
that are falling apart that are in the caves where they find that one time.
Yeah.
Where Dax is like, "Are you sure this will fly?"
What was that ship I've seen before, that ship design? I feel like it was on TNG. Was it the Pac-Led ship?
It seemed like one of those reused ones, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know
if I
exactly.
can find it.
I think they just like tinted it more gold to like look like a Bajoran kind of like vibe or whatever.
Those Foxy Freighter ones all kind of run together too. There's more than one in there.
We got a big cameo in this episode, Lursa and Bajor. It was very interesting to throw them into the mix. What did you guys what are your thoughts on that whole story and everything, where they're like kind of trying to double cross the double crosser or whatever? It's like
Well, having them come into the mix always like it's fun, but it also really helped a story that could have been even less rich than if they weren't there. It'd be like, okay, this is really boring.
Yeah,
not really boring, but I mean, it would be very one note, I guess is what I'm saying. But this also helps expand the idea that DS9 is sort of like the way station of all these people coming to trade things. We see a meeting in Quarks, I think, right, for the first time.
So. Yeah. And also we got to see Odo doing his spycraft, which is which we'll
I love
see
how
a lot
Odo's
of.
all upset. They're at Quarks and they're not gambling and they're not eating. And then you cut to him. Odo, they're drinking. Yeah, they're drinking beer too. They don't have blood wine.
Are you like Quark's manager now? Like, you have to buy something.
I love there's that other scene with Garrick and Bashir, and he's like commenting like in his little kind of sideway like about them, like to pay attention to them, but like he's like talking about they have very interesting clothing.
Yeah. Pay attention to that style.
I also like go to Quarks, or not Quarks. When they go to Garrick's, he just trolls them. It's like, would you like some silk, perhaps for some lingerie? And they about kill him. Just like so happy he did that.
I love when Bashir starts. He goes, "I'm a doctor, not a," and then they cut him
Yeah,
off. So it's like
they
he
almost
almost
get
had the
That was funny.
Almost
I'm a doctor,
kill
not a insurgent or something like that or whatever. it is.
Of course, at this point they wouldn't have been in Generations, but we all know what happens to them. They finally meet their end, but they're pretty awesome characters to bring in on the second. You had your big cameo on the first, in Emissary with Jean-Luc, and now you have your big cameo here with these guys.
Yeah.
And they were doing exactly what they always do. But I liked it because I hadn't seen it in a long enough time where I was in the dark, like Kira, kind of, because I didn't remember all the details. So I was like, oh yeah, like how does it all like kind of come together? And it was neat to see like the drop, if you will, like and like her figuring it all out, like as he's like putting all this together and like realizing that it's a bomb, and then being scared that like he was being honest, like no one would get hurt, at least not not that we know if the wormhole aliens get hurt or not, but so
But he
that was pretty
threatens
cool.
Bajoran colonies to blow it up here and kill everyone there too.
Oh yeah, he did actually. You're right. I forgot about that.
That wasn't
totally
the initial
rebuilt his
plan.
flag.
He would do that if
He got desperate. Yeah, it's true. Any other thoughts on Lursa and Bajor? Robbie, did you have any thoughts on them?
It's kind of interesting to see them going from Redemption, which is this really great political kind of thriller, to just popping into Garrick's and having the kind of typical reaction to Garrick. Like Garrick, he's spreading all these lies, and he's very showy, and that's really fun to watch. But of course, you're going to get people that would quickly get annoyed at that, and we don't see that very often. So I like that as well.
And I guess also the implications of the wider lore did it tie in. I can't remember if it tied in that they were raising. Is there another TNG kind of episode that features Lursa and Bajor where it tied, because they were raising money to build an army, I guess, to get their position back or something like that. And I can't remember because we're in season 5 of TNG when DS9 started, right?
I believe.
This is when I can use our Klingon expert, Fathery.
so.
So if you're in the chat, Fathery, by any chance, like fill us in. But something happened. I feel like there's more Lursa Bajor before Generations in season 6 or 7. I gotta look it up though. I should have done that earlier. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to set that kind of stage of like, oh yeah, they're trying to rebuild the Duras sisters are trying to rebuild their army. I wish we had seen those council people debating about accepting Tanala. Like Kira had convinced like those two, and she said the third one would fall in line and stuff like that, but we didn't really get that at all. What did you guys think of the scene in with Odo and Kira where she just kind of doesn't even know what to, once she finds out about, that Tana is in fact in the Konma, and that these other two Konma are coming, and she's reluctant. She doesn't tell Sisko. There's that whole scene. It's beautifully played where you could tell Sisko's like, something's off about you, But then she goes to Odo, and then she has that conversation where, she basically says, the thing, well, he kind of helps her figure it out, but the thing that she likes about Odo is that he doesn't have any pretense. And so I think that's why she went to him, is to just get the most kind of straightforward answer. And I
like his answer about like, he's like, she says like she's worried she's going to betray somebody, one way. It's like, he's like, as long as you don't betray yourself, you'll make the right decision. It's just like, okay, that's really good advice, actually.
And then, but then
you have a decision that you can't. Like, there is no good solution.
I also like that he kind of makes the decision for her, like because he's like kind of like seeing, he doesn't want her to go back to Tana and they get convinced again or anything like that, and he just says, he calls Sisko.
And she probably wanted him to convince him too, so I think that was but one of the reasons that she went, because she even then, that little kernel of them, being an item basically, or at least being really good friends to start with.
Yeah,
go
ahead. Sorry.
She has that line about how she still has nightmares from what she's done, and she knows all the things the Kanma did and will do now are far worse than anything she ever was part of. So
Yeah.
that was a good Kira moment for character development.
What was the deal with Kira and Odo? They served together like how long before the Federation arrived? Because like how did they know? I can't remember like how.
Odo was there a long time.
Right with the
You get
Cardassians.
flashbacks, right?
Yeah,
At some point, yeah.
yeah. But I
don't
can't
know
remember how
long.
long they were served. Maybe the station was under provisional government rule for a while, and then the Federation came in.
Wasn't she
No,
like?
because remember in the first one they talk about how the Cardassians destroyed everything on the way out.
Oh yeah, they just
Yeah.
left. So yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't she like slave labor basically for the
In
ore
flash,
processing?
some of the flashbacks. Yeah,
Yeah, like, maybe that's how she.
That's
lived there to
probably- that's
infiltrate
how it was.
something.
We'll find out as we go through
It's-
Deep Space Nine.
yeah.
I'm sure it's true. But yeah, I love.
Not
Kira
linear.
that an unrelated. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would say something unrelated to plot is that they had the hair change.
Yep.
He did.
And I got a quote that she said, "I just felt that Major Kira would have wouldn't style her hair every day. She wouldn't care. It's like I wanted a hairstyle that looked like she just woke up in the morning looking like that. So that's what they went for.
Yeah, it fits. It does.
Yeah.
I do like her hair better in this episode than the
Maybe
first
she did
episode.
it up really nice because all the Starfleet people were showing up or something. She wanted to make a good impression.
Maybe
But
she
she
was
also-
trying it, but it didn't work.
Yeah, that too.
It's just shorter now because she had like a little bit more of like side hair in the first
Yeah, it
episode,
was-
right? Like where it just
Yeah.
it's short. This is the Kira look. I think this is like the
Yeah, it fits.
definitive Kira look. But she goes back to long later, right? I feel like.
I think so.
Let me pull this up.
Yeah,
real
she's
quick.
got
She
the
get really
longer
short.
side.
Who was that, Robbie?
She's got the longer side that kind of goes down. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. My sisters have a similar hairstyle.
Oh, cool. Is it called like a bob? It's not called a bob. I forget what it's called, but yeah, here she is. Oh, it's
Yeah, the opening
wild.
one, she was very Lois Lane from Lois and Clark.
That's what it. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
I love Kira. I think she's so cool. I love the actress. Nana Visitor is pretty awesome too, and she's got a documentary coming out about women. Oh, a book. It's a book. Okay, I thought they were making a film too, but I could
They
be
might
wrong.
be, but the book's coming out. What I think October or September or something like that. They finally have
And-
a release date. Yeah.
And the DS9 cast of them, I think she's like the most active with fandom. Maybe Terry Farrell is pretty active too. And yeah, I think so. Andrew Robinson kind of comes in and out, but anyways, she's very active and she has this whole-
Lita, whatever.
yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. You're
She's
right.
pretty
Chase
active, too.
Masterson.
Yeah.
Chase Masterson thing. Yeah.
I guess Armin Shimmerman's too, because I see his posts a lot too. So yeah, there's a handful of them that are really active with the fan community, at least on Twitter and stuff like that. But during the pandemic, I really appreciated her Mama Nana. Did you guys ever see her do her thing where she calls herself Mama Nana and she just came on and like kind of gave advice and talked about stuff, and it was really cool. And then especially just taking a moment about Nana Visitor, finding out from the on Gates McFadden's podcast. It's so funny like that we're in a period where like these actors, they all have like podcasts or this or that, and so like
If it was like if they were becoming like active at the time that the show was going, they would have books. Or
yeah,
that's it.
exactly.
It's just like maybe a radio program every once in a while or something. But yeah.
But I highly, it's kind of a triggering thing for people, so I won't go into detail, but I highly recommend listening to that episode on Investigates with Nana Visitor. She talks about her like traumatic time that she was having in her personal life during the show, and then having to have a kid and raise Django, I think his name is, and stuff like that, which by the way, they also do a podcast together, which is very sweet. And so does Sid. Yeah. So like, it's one big happy family, one big happy fleet, as it were. But
They
yeah,
just stay on microphone 24 hours a day.
Indeed. Any other thoughts on the Odo Kira stuff from that scene?
Well, Odo
Alright.
does do the thing where he, romanticizes Cardassian rule a little, and things
Yeah.
were simpler.
Oh yeah,
Simple. Yeah.
I would so.
You don't need a
I was a
reason to
little.
throw them in jail.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, he does like to do that. Say talk about that.
Well, I
It's
think
kind
it's
of
interesting because at least it gives him a different personality than you would expect, so it makes
Yeah.
him feel a little more alien. Just sort
Especially
of
from
like
Starfleet. Yeah.
yeah.
it's kind of funny because we find out Odo is guilty for
Oh
sentencing
yeah.
the wrong person, and it's funny that he kind of showcases this very. He kind of showcases this "I'm always right" persona, but actually in a lot of episodes he's pretty cold.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Let's see what else was there to cover in this episode. I guess just
Here in the
the
dressing room, and then
oh yeah. That's right.
2055. It's 2057. Get in here.
He was late. He's like, they're such a great pair right off
You guys
the
are on time.
from the
Very good of them. They weren't early.
I'm surprised that Bellitrium wasn't tried to after the burn in Discovery. Like we even tried a Bellitrium powered engine or whatever. It's like that seems like a
Oh,
huge
yeah.
power source. And I'd never heard about it after this episode again. I don't think.
No, I don't think I've
It was
heard of it either.
forgotten
It's one
for
of
the
those
sands
throwaway
of time.
things.
Yeah.
But I think that we're coming up. We did really good, guys. Like this is like fast, knock it out. We're coming up to the hour.
The plot's simple for this one, so yeah. There's
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super simple. There's not a lot to
character
go.
development, and then a little bomb plot, and then
Yeah, I have to agree.
Little
Well,
romance
I
in
guess
the beginning.
it's true. I guess the key
Set
insights
stuff.
is it's post occupation is a tough thing, and I think we're gonna see, fingers crossed, this terrible conflict in the Middle East, in Israel, between Israel and Palestine, and everything. Just once it ends, we're hopefully humans have learned lessons to kind of not make the same mistakes. And I think it's interesting. I've never seen a time in my lifetime of more extremism, and I wish there was a way to repatriate the extremists. I think that's going to be something I'm going to try, to do in my
It's
daily
really hard
life.
when you think about
Yeah.
that. It's like, oh, it's like, how do you, they're not just going to go away, and and if they're not going to change their mind or it's going to be slow, it's like in the meantime, how do you just deal with that?
I think ultimately what you have to do is, it's harder, but I think taking Kira's line or her stance is probably the best one. Is you just have to do the work, and you're gonna get betrayed, and people are not gonna necessarily want to drink the Kool-Aid, necessarily, but the path to peace, is never easy, I guess, is the true factor. And so this episode felt oddly resonant to me, even though again, it's I don't know if they really thought of that. Although, interestingly enough, Michael Piller and Rick Berman, they designed the Bajorans to be kind of a what's that cool word, pastiche of a bunch of different peoples, and Palestinians were in the inspiration, so were the Israelis. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to see that the fact that they had that inspiration, it's going to be very relevant to what's going on in the world now. Sorry to get all serious there, guys. I was like, that's kind of the message.
DS9 is
yeah, it's serious. Yeah. But yeah, that's
Out
what I
Lower
love
Decks.
about the show.
Well, except
It's
once
good.
it was Lower Decks.
It was Lower. It makes me wonder.
little part of Lower Decks. It's like
Have we
money and
figured
then
out?
serious.
Have we figured out? Is Mariner going to be in the background? Are we supposed to imagine that Mariner at some point is in the background on Deep Space Nine during this time?
She
does
was
it
there,
line up?
right? At some point, so she had to
She was at Starfleet for Dominion War. So either right before this or during the Dominion War, she was probably on DS9.
I
she
think
was
she was there when
stationed-
Worf was there, right?
Right. That's right.
Probably.
That's right.
So
Make
he
more
hasn't
sense.
shown up yet.
And then she was stationed on this. We found out recently. I don't know. I there was a throwaway line, I think, in the last episode that talked about it, and we should have talked about this on the stream, but she crashed an Oberth or something like that, I believe. Like, so she was serving on an Oberth class vessel, which
Oh,
is kind
yeah.
of cool. So, during this time, so that's interesting. Like, and I'm wondering if it's the Oberth that dropped off, like, in Emissary. There's an Oberth, the
Yep.
ship that dropped off Julian and
Oh, yeah.
was an
Yeah.
Oberth. Yeah, I wonder if that was like Mariner's ship.
You get a
It's like,
boon on
yeah.
the way out.
I'm gonna miss Lower Deck so much. I
I
think
know.
the only episode I didn't like last season was the caves one. I thought it was a bit boring,
Oh,
but
I love
I
it.
know
that
on
was my
top of
reaction.
it,
Like, wait, what?
I know, I like that one, yeah. But hey, yeah, it's fine.
I was waiting for Peanut Hamper to show
But
up.
that's actually funny because
Next
I think
week.
Aaron tweeted a tweet and I like melted my heart. It was the caves episode when he said like let them just dream a
yeah.
little more or whatever like that. It was like that was kind of poignant, so it was really cool.
The
Actually, that
Vendorian
ties
Guardian
in.
would just have that moment because let them have this, or, like they
Yeah,
let them enjoy
yeah,
this
exactly.
moment or
Let them
something like that,
enjoy
yeah.
this moment, which is like, it's kind of like relevant to that. But that actually is an appropriate tie-in to something wonderful that Aaron you're helping with or doing actually. Do you mind
It's
talking
kind of
about
like
it a little
a
bit?
conglomeration of like we
Yeah,
call
it's
it
all
the
a bunch
Trek
of
Alliance. It's like all the different people. It's basically it's called All Hands on Decks, plural. That's the hashtag. It's the Streamathon. We're going to on May 25th, which is Geek Pride Day, which is kind of a fun, tie-in. So it's Star Wars originally launched on that day. There's Towel Day from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and there's
right
I think it's
on.
called like the Glorious 25th of May or something from Discworld. I don't know Discworld very well.
Oh,
So when somebody said like, "Oh, you shouldn't do it because that's a Star Wars day," it's like it's a bunch of stuff, so it's fine. So what we're doing, the idea is just to make a blip in the streaming of the show, just like they look at the ratings and suddenly on the 25th there's this big spike, just to show, hey, we really enjoy this show, and we know. We're pretty realistic that they're not going to just uncancel Paramount. They're not going to like, okay, we're going to work back. But there's
it would be
hopes that
amazing if
either
they did, but yeah.
if they could go somewhere else, or I think movies actually would be a fun way to do it. I would love to see Crisis Point 3, as,
Oh yeah, that'd be
like
great.
as a movie.
What Mike McMahon could do in 90 minutes would be insane.
Yeah,
One
that would be fantastic. So that's we're doing that, and at the same time, it's a it's sort of a big thank you love letter to the show, because we want to show that the cast and crew that we appreciated all their work and we've enjoyed it, and we're also dedicating it to John Trimble, who passed away recently, and he and Bijo Trimble are basically the people why we're here. If they hadn't done their own grassroots effort, doing way harder than we have it, they started a letter writing campaign and got a third season of TOS. So, and like I said, he recently passed, so we just thought, okay, this is a perfect thing. We just want to dedicate it to him. And
totally,
yeah,
very cool. So follow that.
And, go
everyone.
to SaveStarTrekLowerDecks.com if you want more information.
It's a cool website too, by the way. I was like really impressed with it.
My ADHD kind of got to the point where it's like I need to stop making this animation now because I'm spending more time on that than anything else. So yeah, you can see Peanut Hamper fly by every once in a while, and it's kind of fun.
But in the next few weeks, if you guys could help us out, audience, and like kind of retweet and share and get involved, and remember, it only takes like a full day, like 8 hours to watch all.
If you start at 8 a.m. by midnight, you'll be done.
It's like more than 8 hours, but still, that's not bad. Like a full day to stream a whole series, that's ridiculously cool. So yeah, totally doable, and I will do it. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. In fact, I might watch a couple episodes after the stream before the Text Trek stream starts, which was yesterday. Which is actually yesterday. Yeah, so.
We don't have time to talk about time.
It's so confusing when we pre-record these. Final thoughts and ratings. I'll just say this discussion was fun because it kind of got me to think about things that I hadn't when I was watching it. And so I was originally going to give this episode a 7.5, but I'm going to raise that score to an 8.5. And the audience is probably like, what? He's not giving it a 10? No, I'm not giving it a 10. And I'm going to be more realistic.
Not yet.
Not yet. They're
soon
coming
enough.
up. It's true. It's true. So, why don't you go next, Joel, and then Aaron, and then Robbie. You can finish us off, and then everyone let folks know while you're giving your closing statements where they can find you and what you're promoting. Aaron, you already talked about all hands on decks, but anything else you're doing. So let the audience
little
know
something.
as well. Yeah, Joel, go ahead.
Okay, I think I'll give this. I'll give it a 9 because like the beginning is like an 11 with Garrick and Bashir. It's so amazing, and then it goes into sort of a regular episode with the Klingons in the middle there, and so it averages out, I think, to a 9 from the greatest we have to like, oh, okay, there's a bomb, and they're trying to, and then lurking in a runabout. There's that weird part where O'Brien says it's dead quiet. It's like you're in the middle of space, O'Brien.
That's true.
That part's
Yeah, but
wrote it
there's
down.
all these little beeps. Maybe he didn't hear all the beeps on the.
They did
on
shut the
runabout.
power down. Maybe that's what it
Oh,
was.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Popcorn's off. I don't know. In the runabout.
Oh yeah, that nice thumping, humming
So
sound.
the runabout's
of the
not as
warplane.
nice as engineering, but
So cool, 9, very good. Aaron.
and yeah, I'm Valis on
Oh,
Twitter,
sorry.
and you can find me there and on various things. Sohail and
That's so cool.
Fathering and Textrek does. I'm just
You're a
always lurking,
debutante. I love
pop
it. And you got some of the best jokes. I got to tell you, they're like dad jokes
They
sometimes,
write
but they're also
themselves
they
sometimes.
do. It's really good. It's really good stuff.
Discovery was so easy last episode. That was a great episode, but it just wrote
It
themselves.
lends to it. I like it.
The jokes just come through me. Yeah, I don't know.
You're the con.
Aaron, how about you?
You can find me at Geek Filter, and one of the things I'm doing is next month it'll be June. I have cover B of Sons of Trek, the comic book
I like
series.
that one. Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
it's, number 3, and it is a picture. Or it's a picture. It's a cover with Shaw and Nog. So I was very happy I got to draw Aaron.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But yeah, I would give this. It's somewhere a rating between 1 Klingon lingerie and a bilitrium explosion. So somewhere in there.
I love it.
Soft and ouchy.
Yeah, 8. I would say 8 though. Yeah.
Excellent. Robbie.
I'd probably give this episode a 6 out of 10. I think Andrew Robinson is great. Him bouncing off of Bashir is fantastic. I think, when you see that scene or those scenes with Andrew Robinson, you can see just how much energy he puts into the performance. And, when you have a guest star like Tana Los, which I don't think he was very good, it kind of shows how lucky we were to have such a great DS9 cast. People say that Avery Brooks, was over the top, but you have to kind of have that in some of these episodes that don't have as much going on, or at least they don't have as much in your face. You've got to pay attention.
Yeah, he couldn't have been a regular. He just didn't have the personality for it. Just
No,
very,
not at all. Yeah.
yeah.
Back to soap opera world for you. But I love what you said about Avery Brooks, because I remember in my Trek community at the time when this was airing, there was that like folks didn't understand his like jazzy style of like performance, but he was way ahead of his time because it's so good. Like now I watch him and I'm like, you're watching a master at work, and so it's like, I think it's sometimes things take a while to like especially when something's so new. I mean, I did used to watch Hawk, like his character Hawk, yeah, and so that was cool.
I knew who that was, but I don't think I ever watched a whole episode of.
I watched it like whenever it was on.
Hire.
I didn't watch it like Spencer for Hire is where he started, and then
Yeah.
a show called he had like a season of show called A Man.
It was the
A
same
Man
character.
Called Hawk.
spin-off.
It was the same character. Yeah, so very cool to hear you say that you appreciate his performance, Robbie. That's very cool. And 6, that's like a standard episode. So yeah, it's cool. Good rating. So on average, I think we can say an 8 because there's a 9 in there. There's a 7.5, and
lingerie.
So yeah, lingerie. Yeah, it's like so we'll just say. Robbie, you've got something that aired today, that premiered today on Saturday, May the 4th on your channel. Do you want to tell folks about it?
Yeah, so I'm excited, but I'm hoping that the new Matrix film will be good. I enjoyed the most recent one, but I think the action wasn't quite as good. And so I've got a video that's basically talking about um, why the first three Matrix films are amazing, where Resurrections kind of fumbled a wee bit, and what I liked in Resurrections, and what I'd like to see in a sequel.
Very
Nice.
cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
that video has already premiered. It premiered at noon today when this video is airing. So you guys can go over to Movie Magic if you haven't seen it already and go check that out and let Robbie know what you thought. All right, very cool. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back at this next week. I know this is not we're recording this before Text Trek, so hopefully you all watched Text Trek last night. But if you haven't,
Go back in
go watch-
time.
go back in time and
Orb
watch
of
the replay.
time.
Woo,
Take
time,
it.
time is so, I know it's so crazy like doing these recorded things. But hopefully we'll be back live next week. Next week is my birthday on Saturday. I'm really
Woohoo!
excited about that. We're gonna have a fun time watching Star Trek Generations on the Text Trek Patreon
Which
channel.
ties
So
into this.
Yeah.
which does tie into this. So yeah, very cool. So if you guys aren't patrons and you just want to become a patron for that episode, you could do so. It's like $2 to
You be
get
a
in.
patron
And
for the
then,
whole month.
yeah, then you become a patron for the whole month. You can go
And
all
we
the
have a lot
birthday
of
parties.
May birthdays. Yeah, we've got shows all
Yeah,
month.
actually. Oh wait, today May 4th is Braxton's, and we're watching
Yes.
2 episodes of G Space Nine. So shout
That's
out to
right.
that.
Then I'm the
Joel's
third
next,
weekend.
right? The third weekend. And what was your thing? All the birthday people almost are here. That's so crazy.
Yeah,
We're
yeah, that's
watching Time Amok.
two-
Where I'm watching Time Amok from Prodigy, and then Home Soil from Next Generation, because it has that one
Ooh.
hilarious line, and I'm going to subject you all to the whole episode because of it.
That's awesome.
Ugly bags of mostly
Eggs of
water.
mostly
Yes.
water, which I love.
That's what
I
we
love
called our
saying.
above ground swimming pool that was basically a bag full of water.
That is pretty funny.
Uh,
And then Aaron, when's your birthday pick?
Mine is I guess the 25th. No,
Oh,
yes,
the same day.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the
cool.
same day that we're doing the streaming thing. I don't know how that happened, but it's
Well,
2
we picked
episodes of Lower Decks, so it works.
Oh, so
We're
that's
doing Crisis
perfect.
Point
Yeah,
1
really
and 2, so we're seeing the
Excellent.
two movies, and all the funny jokes about Star Trek movies and stuff is in there. So
That's so awesome. Totally worth $2, guys. So consider doing that and help support Text Trek. He's pretty awesome. They're pretty awesome over there. All right. Live long and prosper, everybody.
May the
And we
fourth
will
be with
see
you.
you. Yeah, may the fourth be